So/x/, I'm feeling generous, decided I'd share my nope in a woods, anyone interested? Before I start, I'll give you a bit of background. This happened in 2012 when I was still in school. Me and two bros of mine decided we would enter a film competition because fuck it, and we all had experience in filmmaking and editing. After seeing a leaflet on it in our school, the winner would win a cash prize and some other stupid shit I don't know. We took basic supplies like food, a tent, camping apparatus, weed, and liquor because it wouldn't be a proper camping experience without them. A camera, and a tripod to film our spooky movie. The events that occurred happened over the course of 4 days. We originally planned to stay for 5 days. P.S. I don't usually green text, so don't ridicule me non-straights. B17. Bro 1, let's call him Chris, also 17. Bro 2, let's call him Sean, Sean is 16. Remember, both of these names are made up for the sake of anonymity. Chris was the most macho guy of the group, who was the ladies' man. He was a great athlete and a sporty type, but deep down though he was a real sensitive guy. Sean was the geek of the group, who was an outdoor freak. He was shooting elk since he was 12 with his father, so he knew his shit about outdoors. He was great at computing/editing but was slightly beta and the only virgin out of the three of us. We would usually tease him about it in a jokingly way, of course. Anyway. Day 1. Used my dad's car as a means of transportation. Drove about 27 miles outside of the nearest town. Pulled up into a secluded road for about another 5 miles before pulling to stop. Investigate the grounds to see if it's suitable for the film/camp's location. Perfect. We walk about 300 feet into what looked like a campsite. Nearly sure it wasn't and that we were actually trespassing. Who gives a fuck? Squidward. We are all appointed roles. Mine was to collect firewood when necessary. After prioritizing the important shit like setting up our tents, starting a fire and getting our bearings of the surrounding area, we started to film. The film was meant to be one of them cliché slashers in a woods like Wrong Turn and Friday the 13th. I was a character alongside Sean. Chris filmed the film using the camera and tripod. Looking back, it was cheesy as fuck but fun. What seemed like no time was actually like 5 hours of shooting and messing about. Sean suggests heading back to the campsite as it's getting dark and we don't want to get lost. We get back to the campsite and some of our stuff is missing and misplaced. We notice our rucksacks carrying our food has been opened and food has been stolen. Starting to feel uneasy about the situation. Sean says it was probably a deer or bird. Me and Chris don't argue, but we all slightly unsettled about the situation, although no one said anything in case they would be called a pussy, etc. After about 2 hours of smoking and drinking, a strong smell resembling rotten milk mixed with vomit hits our nostrils with the power of 1,000 suns. Chris shouts,
"Which one of you fucks farted? It fucking smells of burnt asshole."
We piss our balls laughing cause everything's better stoned and drunk. In the fits of our laughter, a quick rustling in the bushes behind the tent occurs. We all go silent. Freaking out, Sean grabs his hunting knife and observes the tree lean. After what felt like an hour, Sean cautiously approaches the tree lean. He gets to the tree lean and shines a torch into the woods. Nothing. At this stage, we are wondered if we had like a joint. Pun not intended. Nope experience, and that the weed and alcohol was making us imagine it. We decide to call it a night and crawl into our tents. Day 2. Wake up with slight hangover and dehydrated at like 8:30 a.m. It's overcast, unlike it was the day before, which was sunny. Unpredictable weather. Fuck. I crawl out of my tent. Sean is sitting on his camp chair at the edge of the smoldering fire, poking the ashes with a stick, lost in thought. I walk over to him. Walking over, he doesn't notice I'm there. I ask him, "Hey man, you okay?" He looks up at me and says,
"Yeah man, I'm fine. Wanna go exploring into the woods?"
I ask why.
"Cause man, just curious."
Weirded out, but I say, "Yeah man, sure." We decide not to wake Chris cause he's a cranky shit when he's disturbed from his sleep. We roll some joints and disappear into the woods. High as shit, exploring nature is fun. We come to the top of the hill. Overlooking some of the woods, I take some photos on my phone of that shit because the scenery is fucking beautiful. On our way down, Sean casually asks me in nearly a whisper,
"Hey man, did you hear them screeches and the giggling last night?"
I say, "Nah man, I was probably sleeping though."
"Oh, I'm surprised you didn't cause they were pretty loud."
He then goes on and says that he was pretty creeped out. I nervously laugh and say, "Was probably a fox or something man, I wouldn't worry about it." He says again in a whispering-like tone,
I don't know man."
The more I think about it, the faster my heart starts beating. It's unusual for Sean to be creeped out, and when he is, he wouldn't say, on top of the fact that he has been camping most of his life and he knows his shit about outdoors and wildlife. "Is that why you were quiet as hell this morning?" I ask.
"Yeah man. I was pretty worried."
Feel unsettled about it? Get a feeling deep in my gut telling us to leave this place. I say nothing though. We quickly change the topic of conversation, but the lingering disturbing feeling we were both feeling remained present. Pic related. It's the photo I took. Get back to the campsite. Chris is frying bacon. Give me some of that shit. Munchies hit hard. We gobble down like 18 slices of bacon between us in silence. We tell Chris what Sean told me. He's generally worried but doesn't let on, we can see it in his facial feature and eyes. Comfort him by saying it was a fox or some shit. Resume filming. Filming for 2 hours. Call it an early day of filming because Chris has a bad hangover. We don't complain as we're worn out also. We walk back to campsite, everything's the way we left it, thank God. Have an early night. Another picture that was captured. Day 3. Wake up fresh as fuck. Fuck yes. JPEG. The other two fuckwits are still asleep. I decide to go for a walk because I'm bored. After about 15 minutes of walking, I get a smell of decomposing flesh. I come across a bird about the size of an Xbox laying dead, sits completely skinned and mutilated and covered in flies. Get an overwhelming sense that someone's watching me. I look behind me. About 110 meters away can make a black figure lurking in between trees and bushes. Whilst looking at it, I hear giggling from behind me, which sounded about 10 meters away. Nope. I run towards the direction of the campsite faster than a black American with a dinner turkey for KFC without looking back. I tell the guys what happened. They actually believe me, probably because of all the weird shit that's going on. We are all worried at this point, worried to the point that we might cancel the rest of the filming. For the rest of that day we didn't leave the tree line. We sat on our chairs on constant edge, jumping and every creak or crack. When it got dark, we decided to finish off the rest of our Polish vodka because fuck that. Drunk as fuck, we forget all about the spooky things happening. Chris notices we're going low on firewood. Before anyone can mention, Sean volunteers because he's a crazy motherfucker with alcohol in him and is by far the drunkest out of us three.
"I need a piss anyway,"
he said in a slurred voice as he's drunk as shit. He staggers off into the tree line and into the pitch black. Me and Chris resume talking. Half an hour or so passes and still no sign of Sean.
"Where the fuck's that guy at?"
Chris says, half laughing and half concerned. We start to worry real bad. At this stage the fire is smolder and we're using two 20 million candle powered flashlights to see what the fuck we're doing. The smell of burnt asshole returns with a vengeance. This time it's that bad that our eyes are watering from it. As soon as the smell slightly dissipates, Sean emerges from the tree, lean calm as ever, and sits down beside us casually.
Where the fuck have you been?
Chris asked him, generally concerned. He doesn't respond.
And why the fuck are you covered in dirt and shit?
Doesn't respond again. He just sits there looking at the ground, daydreaming.
This isn't funny.
Chris says to him genuinely. Sean then, with an emotionless face, sickeningly looks over at Chris with a smirk on his face, then turns back to the ground. Whatever, asshole, Chris says, who then stands up and crawls into his tent. I'll look at Sean, who is emotionless once more. What the fuck, man, you didn't even get the firewood, I say. As soon as I say that, he quickly looks up and over to me and says,
Do you want to come help me get it?
Slightly weirded by the fact that not even an hour previous, Sean's words were slurred as shit, and now he's speaking as if he's stone cold sober. I kindly refuse and say, there's no point, man, we might as well go to bed. Get up and walk towards my tent. As I crawl into my tent, he calls,
Non, are you scared of it?
In like a fucked up voice that sounded like the girl's voice from The Ring when she rang the victims. To this day it seriously makes the hairs on my neck stand up. WTF? I turn my head and say, why are you talking like that? He mockingly smirks.
Like what?
I think to myself, what a fucking asshole, and crawl into the tent. I get fuck all sleep, thinking Sean's going to cut my throat as soon as I close my eyes. Not once did I hear Sean's tent zip open and close, meaning he stayed out all night. It was sickening to the stomach. Day 4. I wake up in the morning to find Sean's tent unoccupied. Think about last night and ask myself, did I have too much to drink? Generally start to believe that what happened wasn't real and my drunk mind interpreted the events wrong. I cook myself up some sausages and eat them in the sun like a boss. Chris awakens from his tent. He sits beside me. Offer him some. He refuses.
What the fuck happened last night?
We were drunk as fuck, man.
Yeah, I suppose. Where's that non-straight dude anyway?
Probably away getting firewood, I say. After a while of waiting, about to resume filming. Chris, being the hothead he is, loses his patience.
If that retard is lost, I'll rip his head off.
I tell him to chill. He opts to go looking for him whilst I stay at camp in case he comes back. Chris disappears into tree lean. An hour or so passes. I sit in the sun and smoke a cigarette. Birds are chirping and all feels good. Dawns on me that neither bros have returned though. A slight sense of anxiety is present. I try to ignore it. It gets worse. The birds have gone silent and a tinge of sour milk is present. Start physically gagging. I think, what the fuck is it with this place and foul odors? I look up sharply into the tree lean at the back of the tents. What I'm met upon is terrifying. Even to this day, thinking about it chills me to the core. Despite being about 50 meters away, I was able to distinguish the creature's features. By the looks of it, the thing was at least 7 feet. It looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but only it was skinnier and it was pale. Its eyes were like two small black buttons sunken deep into the creature's skull. Although the teeth weren't visible, I could imagine how they look, which adds to the despair. Paralyzed in fear and intense nausea, I stand looking at it in sheer disbelief. Before thinking to nope the fuck out of there, it shot up on all fours. At this stage, my head is spinning and I'm in shock. Chris explodes out of the trees, pale as Snow White with a gash on his face. I grabbed whatever I could and noped out of there without looking back. The 300 meters it took to get to the car were the longest of my life. Whatever the fuck it was following us and mocking us in Sean's voice, which to this day still sends shivers down my back. We jumped in the car and got the fuck out of Dodge, assuming it had gotten to Sean. Even on the highway, we didn't feel safe. We left whatever we had up there, including the camera, tents, and the tripod. On our way home, we sat in silence, covered in shit and shaking. When we entered our town, we discussed how we'd tell the authorities, family, and friends about how our friend is up in the hills and some shape-shifting humanoid creature has consumed him, and how we abandoned him. We decided to ring his cell, but there was no answer. We went to his parents to see if he had gone there. We automatically assumed he wouldn't be there because his parents were out of the country. He answered the door casually as if to say nothing happened. We talk and explain all the shit and what happened. The real disturbing and unsettling thing about it is the fact that he denies even going on the trip. He said he had been staying at home during the entire duration of the trip. We are in utter disbelief, and of course, when we tell all our other friends, they don't believe us. There is no proof of him being up there. The only proof is on the camera, and we noped out of there before retrieving it. Since 2012, I've moved from that town, and from what I know of, Sean has alienated himself from his family and friends. He lives by himself and doesn't leave his house apparently, but I don't know for sure. Pretty much after that, I cut all contact with him. I occasionally talk to Chris on Facebook, but that's about it. Pic related, it's my tent on day 1. More pictures from my old phone.